So we are here tonight to talk about Speech Contests 102. This is more about planning the speech contests. So I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint to share with all of you. I'll go through the deck kind of as it is, and then I will have plenty of time for questions at the end. I can always go back to any slides as well, but we'll go through the slides as I have them. And then, like I said, we'll have plenty of time for questions. So I am going to share my screen. Okay. And can you let me know when you can see it?
Yeah, we
All
can see it
right.
now. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. So as I mentioned, this is Speech Contests 102, planning a speech contest. So last week we did go over some more of the rules, and that was more of like rules-based information and kind of just the basics of the contest. So now we're going to talk more about the planning portion of the contest. So this is session 2. We're going to go through, all the different things that you'll need as your starting point, your volunteer lists, all the different scripts and checklists that you're going to need, and then some of the general procedure and as well as resources. So that's kind of a little bit of an agenda for today. Starting from the beginning, some of the roles that you're going to need to fill when you're thinking about planning your contest is you're going to need a contest chair. This person is really going to be the main person to kind of help organize all of the things that have to go on with the contest and all of the things that I'm going to get into today. So the contest chair is going to be somebody who is very organized and really kind of that lead who's going to be planning. So whether that be you or somebody else that you work with as the contest chair. The contest chair is then going to select the chief judge. Also another big important role. The chief judge is going to be responsible for getting all of the voting judges and a lot of the other functionaries as well. So when you're planning your contest, you're going to want to make sure that you determine the date and the time of your contest. It seems really simple, but you've got to pick a date and a time that works for as many people as possible. So making sure that it's a time when folks can join, maybe not during the middle of a work day. If most of your clubs contestants are working. So just something to keep in mind of choosing that date and time. And then also making sure that you're advertising the contest. Again, it seems like a really simple thing, but making sure that you're getting out there and you're notifying everyone around what the date and the time of your contest is, promoting that. You're going to gather all of your required forms. We'll get into a little bit more about what's required and where you can get all of these forms, but the basic forms are the contestant certification forms, the judges certification forms, and the certificates of participation. You're also going to want to generate a spreadsheet to collect all participants' information. So not only is that your contestants, but it's also your functionaries like your timers, your judges, the interviewer, all of that information. And this really just helps to keep everything together in one place, keep you organized. And I also advise sharing that spreadsheet. If you're the contest chair, share that spreadsheet with the chief judge so that you both can make sure that you're on the same page and you have all the documents that you need. We'll get into a little bit more in a little bit about what that looks like. But keeping a way to keep organized like this spreadsheet is just a great way to make sure that you've got all the roles filled, all the contestant information, and everything that you need to run a successful contest. You're going to need to recruit an army of volunteers. Trust me, it takes a village to put on a contest. So, as I mentioned, the contest chair and the chief judge, two very important roles when putting on a contest. However, you also need additional folks to help you with running the contest as well. So, the contest chair is usually going to be the one to recruit that sergeant at arms. So, making sure that logistically the building or the room that you're using for your contest, that person is there to greet folks, make sure folks know where to go. If you choose to have a contest toastmaster who is separate from the contest chair, you'll want to make sure that you know who that person is. Oftentimes, we do see that the contest chair serves as the contest toastmaster. That is fine as well, but some folks might choose another toastmaster in place of the contest chair, in addition to the contest chair. I do have listed on here a test speaker for evaluation contests. However, this year we will not need to do that, since our contests are going to be the international contest and the table topics contests. And then you'll need to recruit an interviewer. So somebody who is going to interview all of the speakers during some of the downtime that we'll have. The chief judge is then also going to recruit some of the voting judges. So I have on this slide, it says 5 for club and area contests and 7 for division and district contests. I will say that that is an absolute minimum of voting judges that you should have. I would really recommend to have at least 2 to 3 backup judges, just in case something happens, someone gets sick, someone's not qualified to be a judge, something happens, you have folks to back you up to be able to fill that judge role. The tie-breaking judge, so this is going to be a separate person that is different from one of the voting judges, so you will need a separate tie-breaking judge. You will also need at least 2 ballot counters and at least 2 timers. Again, these are kind of minimum. If you can get 3 ballot counters and 3 timers just as a backup, it's just always a good thing to have. I will say the most important backups that you should have, though, are those voting judges, because voting judges do need to meet certain qualifications in order to be a judge. You're then going to prepare your briefing and contest scripts. So as we know, having a script makes things very easy, or at least easier, when you're putting on the contests and you're running the briefings. So it makes sure also that not only does it run smoothly, but it also makes sure that you're covering everything that you need to know and need to tell your contestants, your judges, and everybody who's helping to serve as a functionary role within the contest. We do have prepared briefings and contest scripts that I will share with all of you to help really make sure that we have everything kind of outlined and you're not needing to create something new on your own. But having that ahead of time is going to really help you make sure you have everything you need. So there is a contestant's briefing script, a judge's briefing script, and a contest script. The contest script is really going to be your entire outline of how the contest is going to go. There will be certain places in there where you may have to adjust just based on the type of contest that you're holding at that point. But we really tried to make it easy so that it helps provide a very smooth contest for you. So the checklist for the contest chair, there's a lot that the contest chair does need to have. So one of the biggest things that you're going to have to figure out as the contest chair is your budget, making sure that you know what type of budget you have or what kind of budget you're going to need to put on the contest. So this year, I'm very excited because our contests are all being held in person at the area, division, and district level. It's very exciting. However, it also adds in another layer of figuring out where are we holding the contests. So thinking about where you're going to hold that contest, you may also need to rent a space, or there may be a cost associated with the space that you're going to use in order to hold that contest. So determining that budget is going to help you figure out what you need to do there. Again, setting that place and time, like I mentioned, seems pretty simple and straightforward, but making sure that you know where you're going to have the contest, what time, what day, and all of that is really important to do. Determining the agenda. So again, as I mentioned, we will have some of the scripts that I just went over. I do have an agenda template that can help you make sure you're putting the agenda together appropriately and kind of following the same agenda that we would normally follow for a contest. And then also arranging for any supplies that you might need. So I know that Michelle Westgate is actually working on putting together a contest in a box type of a thing. She's still working on that. So more to come as we get those out to folks. But that may have some supplies in there. However, if you need different things like a banner or a table or chairs or different things that you might need for the room, making sure that you have that information. Again, the certificates of participation, any of the speech contest materials, making sure you have those on hand, whether that be like the ballots for the ballot counters, any of the judging forms that you may need, the contest rule book, all of those you should have in hand with you on the day of the contest. And then again, selecting that chief judge who is responsible for having those ballots and forms, and then appointing any of the support roles. So just as I mentioned earlier about the sergeant at arms or any other interview roles, anything like that that you might need. In addition, the contest chair will also need to notify the contest officials of the time and place, the contestants of the time and place of both the contest and the briefing. Again, those kind of seem pretty simple, but making sure that you're notifying all of the functionaries, the contestants, and everyone about when you're holding the contest and the briefing, and making sure that that's very clear so that everyone is there and able to attend. You're then going to want to promote the contest. So putting it out on the Toastmasters or on the District 38 website, putting it out on any kind of social media that your club or area may use, and promoting it within your area, your division, and then within the district so that everyone knows when your contest is going to take place. You're also going to want to then conduct the contestants briefing. So again, that goes over all of the rules, all of the information that the contestants are going to need to know. So you'll conduct that contestants briefing. I would recommend doing that ahead of time, doing that maybe a few days before the contest. You can do that via Zoom if it makes sense for you and your contestants to do. However, it's really important that you do host a contestants briefing just to give a chance for the contestants to ask any questions and kind of outline some of those rules for folks to know. You're then going to provide the contestants with the rule book, the speech contestant profile, and the speaker's certification of eligibility and originality forms. So you're going to want to make sure that you do receive the contestant profile and the certification of eligibility and originality back from each of the speakers before the contest starts. I would recommend asking for that back at least a few days so that you, as the contest chair or the chief judge, can make sure that you have that information ready and you have all of the information filled out and ready to go. You're then also going to need to check your contestant eligibility by verifying that contestants and the clubs that they are in good standing, and verifying any educational requirements being met as well. During the contestants briefing, you're going to verify that the contestants are all present and check the pronunciation of their names. This is an important one because a lot of times we may think we know how someone's name is pronounced, but until we check with them, we can't be sure. And we want to make sure that we're conscious of how each speaker wants to be identified and how they pronounce their name, just so that we're being respectful of them and that we're not causing any kind of hiccups or embarrassment or anything like that on the pronunciation. So just making sure, even if it's a very clear name, or if it's something like John Smith and you think just making sure that you verify exactly what they want to be called, because maybe they don't want to be called John, they want to be called Jonathan. So you're also going to review the speech contest rules with the speakers as well. You're going to draw the speaking positions. So you can use a wheel picker type of thing. And I believe that's what we have in our contestant briefing to determine the speaking order of your contestants, but the speaking order should be done ahead of time. You can also do it a different number of ways, but that's just one way that you can do if you're doing it ahead of time via Zoom. You'll also want to make sure you're reviewing the timing protocol with the speakers. So as we know, international speeches are between 5 and 7 minutes. And the table topics speeches are between 1 and 2 minutes. However, there is a 30-second grace period for the international speeches. So if someone is at 4 minutes and 30 seconds, they can still qualify for the international speech. However, for table topics, they must hit that minimum of 1 minute. They can then go up to 2 minutes and 30 seconds before they are disqualified. However, it's really important to make sure that the speakers know this ahead of time so that they are aware of their timing as they're giving their speeches. This is all outlined in the briefing information and in the rule book as well. You'll also want to remind your contestants of the rules about the eligibility and originality as well. Again, this is outlined in some of the briefing scripts that we have, but there are certain rules around the originality. So if a speaker chooses to reference a poem or a song and they choose to sing part of the song as part of their speech, they have to tell us exactly where that song came from, or they have to refer to that song or that poem. And they also must stay under 25% of their speech can be another reference to another source. So that's just another example of that originality there in terms of the rules. And then you're also going to want to determine the speaker area. So this is something that this year, being in person again for the first time in several years for the area and division contests, you're going to have to determine a speaking area in the room that you'll be in. So as we know, the last several years for the area and division contests, we've been in these little boxes here, right? And then at the district contest, we had a nice big stage that was really cool. And that's where the speakers were speaking. So if you don't have a nice big stage in the area where you are hosting your contest, just making sure that you're outlining what the speaker area is so that your speakers know. It's important to just outline that so that they know how far out they can go into the audience or what their area is. The chief judge's checklist. So the chief judge is going to appoint and counsel the voting judges. As I mentioned before, they're going to make sure that they get several voting judges. They get the ballot counters, the timers, and then also the secret tie-breaking judge. They are going to also encourage the speech contest officials to view the speech contest training provided by Toastmasters, making sure you're familiar with the eligibility requirements and that as a judge, you are eligible to perform as a judge in the contest. And then making sure also that they are conducting the judges briefing for the voting judges and the timers. And that's again to make sure that the judges and the timers are aware of all of the rules and the guidelines and for fulfilling their role as a judge or a timer. The judge is also going to distribute each of the items to each voting judge. So they're going to share the list of the contestants. They're going to share the judge's guide and the ballot forms. The judges should each have a copy available of the speech contest rulebook and the judge's certification of eligibility and code of ethics. At the judge's briefing, you'll go over the judge's guide and the ballot, as well as the speaking area to ensure that the judges are aware of what that speaking area is and what their role is in filling out that ballot. You'll talk with the ballot counters around the filling out the ballot forms and the use of the counter tally sheet. And then you'll review the speech contest time record sheet with the timers to make sure that they understand how to fill out that sheet and what each of their roles are going to be as it relates to the timers. And then you'll also go over the proper timing procedures and how you're going to use that equipment. So whether it be you're using your phone to keep track of time or you're using a stopwatch, and then what source you're going to use, whether it be red, yellow, and green flashcards or flip cards in order to indicate that time during the speech contest. So for the execution of the contest chair or the Toastmaster, if it's a separate person, is going to open up the contest. They're going to inform the audience about all of the rules having been reviewed and that the contestants were all informed of the speaking area and the timing, basically just confirming that the contestants have all been briefed and the judges have all been briefed as well. The contest chair will then start the contest. They're going to introduce each contest speaker. They're going to call for 1 minute of silence after each speaker. And then at the completion of the speeches, they will wait until the ballots are collected. While the ballots are being counted, the interviewer is then going to interview each contestant. The chief judge during that time is going to collect the ballots from the ballot counters. The ballot counters are actually going to walk around the room and collect those ballots from all of the judges as discreetly as possible. We know in an in-person environment, it can sometimes be challenging to be discreet when you are a judge. However, there are ways around that. You can have fake judges, if you will, or you can just try to be discreet as possible. But the chief judge is going to collect all of the ballots. They're going to physically leave the contest room to go to a separate ballot counting room with the ballot counters. They're going to tally up the votes and determine the speaker rankings. They're going to address any protests. So if there is a protest that a judge or a contestant raises, they're going to review that with the contest chair, and they will decide how to proceed at that moment. And then they will then deliver those contest results to the contest chair. The contest chair will collect the results from the chief judge. They will review any of the protests, and they will then announce the contest results. So some of the resources that I had mentioned can be found right directly on our TM District 38 website under contest resources. However, I believe we should be able to share in the chat with you some resources all in one place as well. So things other than what is on the contest resources. And I'll get into that in a minute. So some of the resources that you can get from that spot on the website is the rule book. I will tell you that it is probably best for at least either the contest chair or the chief judge or both of you to have a printed out copy of the rule book with you when you are going through your contest and at the contest. I know when I had served as the chief judge last year, I had a printed out copy with me at all times because I was getting some questions at different times throughout, and we did need to refer to that rule book. So that rule book is going to be your best friend. Then you can also download the international and table topic speech kits that has all kinds of information in it. So all of the forms, all of the certificates, all the tally sheets, the ballot sheets, all of that will be right there in that, that speech kit. One of the other resources that I mentioned earlier in this training was the spreadsheet to help keep you organized. So this is what it looks like. You do not have to use exactly this. However, this was super helpful when I was planning contests in the past and needed to make sure that I had all of the paperwork, that folks were registered or they were eligible or the club was in good standing, and that I had all of my ducks in a row to plan that contest. So this is a really great spreadsheet. And again, you don't have to use this, but this really helped me, and it's a really good way to kind of keep yourself organized as you're going through and getting all of those functionaries and contestants in order. Because as you'll know, when you start reaching out to get roles filled, you might say, oh, wait, I think I talked to this person. Wait, did I get the paperwork from this person? And this is a really good way to keep track of all of that. Here is what the contest script looks like. So if you are that contest chair or the contest Toastmaster, this is a really great script that we had put together to just really go through exactly what the contest is going to look and sound like. So again, you don't have to use exactly this, but this is just a great way to kind of keep you on track with what you are going to be saying during the contest. This is the resource for the contestants briefing script. Again, this kind of outlines all of the information that you might need in order to run the contestant briefings. It talks about the different rules, how to draw for the speaking order, and different information out there. And then this is the chief judge's briefing script. So again, it has all the information out there for the voting judges, for the timers, for all of your functionaries, and it's the briefing that you can do with your judges. And then here is a contest agenda. So it looks pretty similar to a lot of our typical Toastmasters agendas, but it does follow this similar pattern of, just starting with the table topics, then having a break, then going into the international speech contest, and it has all the information outlined there. And thank you. So I just went through a ton of information. I hope you're all still with me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point to open it up at this point for what questions you have. I know I went through a lot, so please feel free to ask questions. Do we have any questions? Did I do that great of a job? I went through everything.
Yes, now everybody's it's an expert now.
Yeah.
I have a question. For a club, what is the vice president of education's role?
In the contest?
Yeah.
So they would be able to help verify that the contestants are eligible. But other than that, I mean, if they take a role in the contest, as far as, if they're filling a functionary role, that would be their role.
I just want to be clear. I just have been since the end of July. So I was president before then.
Okay, so you're
just became VP.
Got it. So you're filling a VPE role right now. So you're just making sure you understand what you're responsible for in that.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that as long as you are able to help make sure that the contestants are eligible, so that, for the international contest that or the international speech contest, that they've met the levels 1 and 2 in pathways, that's going to be like probably one of your main priorities. Again, unless you choose to volunteer for that contest chair role, chief judge role, or any of the other functionary roles.
Okay, well, I just got a ribbon from the district for President Distinguished Club for 2023, 2024 when I was president, so we can hang it on our flag. So now I just want to do a good job as VP. Thank you.
Awesome. I love that. Congrats on that. That's great.
Thank you.
Hi, Ashley. This is
Hi.
Vaidehi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for that absolutely fabulous, detailed and thorough presentation. I have seen a lot of these, but you're really, really good. So I have just one clarification. I have read the speech contest rule book, but there are a few things which I just wanted to really ask and clarify. At the club level or at the area level, if you're an area director or a division director, is it correct? My understanding, if it's correct, whether we can be a chief judge or any contest official, or it's we are not allowed. We have to appoint somebody else as a chief judge or a contest chair, or say an interviewer.
Yes. So I believe at the area level, if you are an area director, you can serve in any of the roles. But if you are like a voted in elected official, you cannot serve as a functionary of the contest. So
Okay.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Sure. So if you are looking to go into being a division director for the following year, and you know that you're going to do that, You cannot serve as a contest functionary if you know that you're going to be doing that, just so that it doesn't appear that you're trying to use the contest to like promote your visibility in that elected role.
Oh, okay.
Does that make
Oh.
sense?
Yes. But
Okay,
if suppose, yeah, so if I'm the area director this year,
Yep.
okay, so can I be a chief judge or a contest official at a club or an area level contest, or any other area director or the division director this year? Can they be appointed as a uh, chief judge or a contest official for either the club or the area contest for this year, for 2024-25?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, unless you have made it known at that time that you're going to be going for an elected role for the following year.
okay.
So this year
My
shouldn't be a problem.
understanding when I ran the area contest last year, when I was area director,
Yeah.
if
Yep.
you have one person from a club, then you have to have another person from another club. You have to have several judges. You can't have one as a, main judge if you don't have another, club also with a judge. You have to be careful about that, numbers.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Carol, I think that's a slightly different point. I think that's a great
Yes.
point. So, I know in my slides I had outlined a minimum of 5 and a minimum of 7 for the club and area, and then for the division and district. If you have less than 5 or less than 7, you need at least 1 from each area. However, sometimes that can get a little tricky. So it's almost better to just go with that 5 and the 7 so that you don't have that bias there. That's what you try to prevent. But right, with the elected officials, like if you are currently in an area director role
Mhm.
and you are not going to be you're not going to be an elected official for the following year, you can
Okay.
serve in any of those roles.
Oh, we can. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so
Should
much,
have asked
Ashley.
that
Thanks for your
question.
patience. Huh? No, because I read the speech contest rule
Yeah.
book once or twice. Another friend of mine also read, and then somebody else kind of came up with this question as to, okay, but my understanding is X, and this, and her understanding was Y. So I thought it's
Yeah.
better to just clarify and ask you rather than assume and presume. And once we go ahead,
Yeah.
it's like, you're not prepared for it. So I wanted to ask this question in advance and be ready
Yeah.
for the contest. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
absolutely. And I recognize too that the timing of this training, I mean, we are in October right now. Maybe things change and you change your mind and you are going to be, going for an elected role.
Yes.
So if you know that at that point and you want to reach out to me to say, hey, this is what's happening. Can I do this or can I fill this role? You
Okay.
can always do that. If I don't know, I will check because I might not know everything. I sure don't know everything.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we can work that out together, but yeah, as long as you're not intending on being being in one of those elected roles,
Okay.
that's where it can get a little bit tricky. So we do want to take away any of that like bias or any piece that may look like you're kind of promoting yourself, even though you likely wouldn't be. But yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, I would say if there's ever any question about it and you're like, I don't know, this is a little bit tricky, take yourself out of it and say, I don't want to I'll get somebody else to fill that contest role
Okay.
so that there isn't any question about it.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much, Ashley. Thanks for your patience.
No problem. All right. I did put a link in the chat to a Google Drive that does have some of the contest scripts and things out there as well. I am going to share that a little bit more broadly. I know there's only a handful of folks on the call today, and I know there were some folks that were looking for the recording of this training too. So I'll be sending out more documents and more information too as we get closer to contest time. But please feel free, reach out to me if you do have any questions, if you need any help, figuring out what the rule book says or why it says something, or, and if we have to reach out to get some more information together, we can do that together too.
Ashley, I have another question.
Absolutely.
If I see someone else asking a question, I won't speak then. So another question is that because this contest is being held in person this year,
Yep.
and you spoke about the budget, correct? So at what point in time will we know what is the budget that has been allocated? Because then, it will help us prepare. And what will happen is this supposed to cover only the contestants? That is, suppose we order, say the contest is going to be, say, from 10 to 1 or 10 to 2.
Mhm.
That would mean, do we have to arrange for breakfast and order some lunch? And we have to know, whether it has to be only for the contestants and the contest officials, or
Mhm.
for everyone who attends. Like, how does it work? And at what point will we know the details?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I'll be honest, I don't have the answer to that at this point. But that could be a question that we talk to the district finance manager about, just to determine like what that budget looks like or where that's, coming from. I know the last several years, all of the contests that I've been a part of have been on Zoom. So we needed to, we didn't need to account for things like that, right? Because everybody had their food and drinks, at home while the contest is going on. But that's a fantastic question. So I can follow up with our finance manager and just see if, what that looks like, or if that, if there's a budget there for that.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
I do have a comment about that. So I don't know the budget either, but if you're an area director and you're going to have expenses for your contest, I will suggest that even you start now, you can request an account in Concord, which is the system that is used by the district and Toastmasters to do the reimbursement, because it seems it's been kind of slow to sign people up, and that nothing to do with our district, but just the system itself. So if you go to the District 38 website, there's let's see, where is it? It's in the resources, I think, or probably district leaders in finance. Yeah. So if you go to district leader finance, and it says district dollars and expense reported with Concord, and it gives the link to register and a presentation on how to use that system. So it would be something you can do now, and whenever you need a reimbursement, then it's there. Otherwise, it might take time when you want to do it later. So that's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Great point on that. Great question. What
And
other questions?
I was just curious about, you mentioned the contest in a box. So is Michelle gonna kind of prepare the trophies and all the certificates and mail it to every area? That way area directors don't need to buy it?
She is working on putting some of that. I don't know all that's going in there, but a lot of like forms and a lot of documents and things that you'll need. She's working on getting that together. So hope I didn't spoil anything, but I know she's working on getting a
I
lot
see.
of that at least out to the division directors.
I see. And then we will
so-
distribute to the
Yes. I don't know exactly what her plan is for the timing on getting those, but yes, that is hopefully coming soon.
Okay, yes. And let's see, I just wanted to bring up another thing about the eligibility. So there is a link on Club Central. You go to Club Central at the very bottom. There is an area that says, and I was just looking at it, so I think I lost it. Anyway, it says there is an eligibility checker. So you can go in, put the member number and maybe something else, and it tells you exactly what it is. So you don't need to contact the VP for that club. It comes directly from Toastmasters. So it's kind of an official way to check if a member is eligible or not. Because otherwise, how would you know if a member that's from a different club is eligible? So that's the official place from Toastmasters. So you don't need to go and ask someone. It's available there. So that's very useful too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go to check that out. International or District 38?
It's in international. It's in Club Central,
Okay, thank you.
where you go sign people up and everything. It's you have to scroll all the way up. It's almost at the very bottom, but there's eligibility checker or something like that.
Okay, thanks.
And then oh, whoops. Hang on. I was putting the speech contest rulebook in the chat. Like I said, this is going to be your best friend. I have it on my Kindle. So I actually have a Kindle here that I can like write on. And I have it on there. I highlight stuff. Like I said, I printed it out last year. It's another one. I wasn't going to print it out again, but I have it in there so I can highlight different things. And as like the contest chair and the chief judge, when you're going over specific rules, feel free to read right out of the speech contest rulebook if you need to, just to make sure that you are speaking correctly on the rules and that you're not inadvertently saying something that you shouldn't, or you missing a piece that you should talk to. So I did put that in the chat just so that you have a direct link to that. But yeah. What other questions? Anything else I can answer?
Just had one question. Does a member have to be at a certain level before they can enter a contest? Do they have to have completed like a certain amount of steps in their path or anything like that?
Yeah, so for the international speech, they must have completed levels 1 and 2 of a pathway in order to compete. And then they also must be in good standing and their club must be in good standing. However, for the table topics speech contest, they do not need to have fulfilled those levels 1 and 2. They just need to be in a club in good standing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, Margie, I see you speaking, but I do not hear you. I think you're on mute.
Gotcha. There. Hi. I was just curious. I know that we spoke about the checker, but the checker is checking just whether or not they're eligible through Toastmasters, not necessarily that their club is eligible, because I know some clubs are suffering sizes and might disqualify themselves in that situation. So is it just doing the member, but will it also add on the factor? Because I think some members also have different clubs that they're members of. You know, the member ID, the one that he said to go ahead and put in.
Yeah.
I'm wondering
so
if that's going to say which one.
I think it should check both, but if a member is gonna be competing, it has to select. If it's a member of different clubs, it has to select which club is gonna be representing. So you cannot just say, you're just gonna compete for every club. You have to pick one club and stick to that club throughout the whole series.
I understand that, but I am director of a club of clubs, an area that I am not even in. And so if I go into checker and I see a multi-membership person, will they actually come up as 2 different memberships? Or is it just the one membership showing
that I don't
that
know.
they've completed, just showing that they've completed enough to get them by? And now I'm just curious at the final to make sure that the club is actually going to be okay to compete. How do we get that at the final moment to make sure? Because I know that they're trying hard, some of them, but I don't know how to get that final score at the last second.
Yeah, a good question. What puts a club in good standing?
So the club is in good standing, and I believe it's if they have at least, at a minimum 8 or more. It may actually be higher than that, but I think it's at least 8 or more members, and that the club is all paid and those members are paid. And
Okay,
it does have to, like, you do need to be eligible at each club or at each contest. So if the club is in good standing and for the club and the area level, and then into the division level, if for some reason they dip down below, because that's right around renewal time, if they dip down below and they're no longer in good standing, unfortunately, that contestant cannot move forward until that club is back in good standing.
okay. But if a member wants to compete and they're part of two different clubs, let's say one in good standing and one not in good standing, you go with a good standing one, right?
They should compete. They would compete in the one that's in good standing,
Yeah.
but to Ari's point earlier, they have to compete the entire time. They can't switch back and forth.
Right, okay.
Yep. Oh, Marge, you're on mute again.
I am so sorry. I keep
No,
getting
that's okay. I get it.
All right, there is I've heard of a case where it was a person that was a member of two different area clubs, two different areas, but I heard that they got disqualified. So I'm just wondering, when did they catch it to disqualify? Because I think they ran in both the club levels, but I think once it went up, they got disqualified. So I'm trying to understand how that could even happen, but
Yeah, and I don't know exactly that situation. So it could have been that maybe the club was in good standing, or maybe that member was in good standing and then they didn't pay their dues for that next round. And, or they didn't pay their dues on time and then unfortunately became disqualified. That could happen. So that's why we make sure that if you're competing, you're in that club, the club is in good standing, you as the member are in good standing. So just make sure any contestants that are competing, make sure they know that. And they know that well ahead of time. I would think that if a contestant is looking to compete, starting at the club level in January, that they are not looking to leave in the next couple of months, that they are going to continue to be a Toastmaster, they're continuing to pay their dues. But it's just something that I would make sure that your contestants know ahead of time so that they're aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
And the more proactive you can be, like with helping to plan the contests, the better it's going to be, making sure not waiting for the last minute to kind of check that, some of that eligibility or that status. It's just going to help set you up for a better outcome in the long run. Not that you're running up against, day of and you're like, oh my God, is this person eligible? No, they're not. Like, now what do we do? So
make sure everybody has posted all reports, everything, all the monies and everything.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions or anything else I can answer?
Thank you for leaving your contact information though, so as the time comes up, we can contact you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll put it again in the chat. If you go on the Toastmasters or the District 38 website, you can get my email from there too, but I just put it in the chat. Please reach out to me and with any questions, and we'll figure it out. Like I said, if I don't have an immediate answer, I'll help you figure it out. So I'll help you find it. I might send you a snip of the rule book. Don't be shocked if I do. Like I said, that's like the Bible here for contest season. So, it's going to be one of your best friends. And I will say, I highlighted so much in that over the last couple of years, just, as I was helping out in different ways in different contests. So it's just a really good resource to have. And it really outlines a lot of what you need to know and takes a lot of guesswork out of the process too. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, emotional outbursts? I'm here for them. All right. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate you all taking the time to hang out with me tonight. And like I said, we'll get some more of these links out to everybody. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we'll get through these contests together. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your
Ashley.
time.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye.
Have a great night.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya.